Okay, so an interim heavyweight title fight has now been booked as the co-main event for UFC 295 between Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich. Why? Well, let's talk about it. John Jones was going to defend his title against Stipe Miocic as the main event, but he's had to pull out because he tore his pec off the bone. Yeah, I can't even imagine to begin how painful this would be. Like, yeah, from videos and stuff that I've seen, not just of John Jones, but of others, they're pretty graphic, the blood and stuff that's just like swollen up in the pec. So I thought these videos and these pictures were a bit more appropriate. But anyway, the UFC replaced John and Stipe with this fight with Aspinall and Pavlovich for the interim title. But guys, who do you think will win the interim belt? Let's have a look at our two competitors, starting with Tom Aspinall. So, Tom Aspinall is the number 4th ranked heavyweight contender in the world. He's got a professional record of 13-3. Tom Aspinall has had 12 first round finishes too. That's a lot of first round finishes, especially when he's had 13 wins, 10 of which by KO or TKO and 3 submissions. As well, Tom's only actually had one fight that has lasted longer than the first round. Makes sense with his 12 first round finishes, right? Tom as well, he's only actually got one loss in the UFC, and this was due to a knee injury. His knee blew out in his fight against Curtis Blades, which, to me, I'm not even sure if I would call this a loss, but the reason I say that is because I'm not sure if his knee blew out from a kick that he threw on Curtis, or if it was just a really bad way that he landed on it and then threw a punch. But hard to know. But anyway, let's look at the pros of Tom Aspinall. So, Tom Aspinall's pros. Guys, Tom Aspinall is insanely fast for a heavyweight. There's a reason that people say he fights like a welterweight. He can jump in and out of the pocket with ease. He is one of, if not the fastest heavyweight in the UFC. And it's rare you see heavyweights move as fast as him. And as well, because Tom can jump in and out of the pocket with ease, he has very good distance management. You can watch when Tom fights that he knows how to manage the distance very well. It kind of reminds me of Robert Whittaker in that regard. With that sort of striking, Tom's just a bit more boxing orientated when he's in and out of the pocket. And even though he does have good striking and his distance management is good, he also has some really good takedowns and submissions. Tom's ground game is really good, and that isn't very common at heavyweight. Like we've seen in his fights, particularly against Volkov and Arlovsky, that not only can Tom take you down, but he has the submissions to back it up. After all, he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. With all of that, I think that this makes Tom Aspinall the most well-rounded fighter in the heavyweight division, and I see him as a really tough matchup for anyone. Guys, with Tom having fantastic offensive striking, not only because of how fast he is jumping in and out of the pocket, but as well, Tom actually has a pro boxing record of 1-0, which people may look at that and think, oh, it's only one fight, but still, that shows he's got some good offensive boxing if he's already won a pro fight. His defense is good with just his speed in and out of the pocket, and as well, the guy's got takedowns and submissions. Guys, Tom is really the most well-rounded heavyweight that I can think of. But anyway, enough of the pros. Let's have a look at some of the cons. So, there aren't really that many cons because of how well Tom is. Like, Tom is so well-rounded. But the first one I thought of was, is Tom Aspinall able to handle the deep waters? We've never actually seen Tom after the first round, only once, and that was in the second round. Does Tom have what it takes to fight 5 rounds of a championship fight? To be honest, I think he does have pretty good cardio from what I've seen of him. Like, yeah, I think he probably could, but you can't forget, this fight he's had 2 weeks notice for. Pavlovich as well is the backup fighter. And because he's the backup fighter, he's probably been already training really hard for this title opportunity. Yeah, it's really hard to compare because of this. Is Tom going to be ready with 2 weeks to prep, especially against Pavlovich, who, I mean, depending on how hard and serious he's been taking the backup opportunity, has been training. But anyway, now on to Sergey Pavlovich. Who's Pavlovich? Well, he's the number 2 ranked heavyweight contender in the world. He has a professional record of 18-1, 15 first round finishes, all by KO or TKO. And none of his fights in the UFC have lasted longer than 1 round. Yeah, none. And not only that, 15 first round finishes all by TKO and KO? That's a pretty scary guy to be fighting. And as well, Sergey Pavlovich has only actually had 1 UFC loss. And that was in his debut against Alistair Overeem. So yeah, pretty good credentials there. Now let's look at the pros. This man, guys, the first pro, which I'm sure most of you know, this man, his power is insane. There's a reason why he has 15 KOs, all in the first round. He's got that Francis Ngannou power, which can put you to sleep with 1 hit. And as well, because of this power, it makes it very, very good with his relentless pressure style. He walks people down without stopping. Just think of Ngannou again. Think of when he fought Tyson Fury recently. It's a very similar style to that. Francis just walked Fury down and threw a barrage of punches, some of which were pretty calculated though, you have to admit. Francis was very calm in that fight. But Pavlovich does pretty much the same thing in the UFC, and he puts people to sleep. As well, like I already mentioned, Pavlovich has already been training. He was originally down as the backup fighter for the title fight, and if he's already been training, that puts him at a serious advantage. Not only that, the chin. We've seen that Sergey Pavlovich has a good chin. When he fought Curtis Blades, Curtis hit him with some really good shots, but it really didn't seem to faze Pavlovich. Really didn't. Which, it makes me just think that Sergey Pavlovich, he really is pretty similar to Francis Ngannou in that regard. But, on to the cons. So, my first one is, does Sergey Pavlovich have good cardio? Similar to Aspinall's fights not lasting long, Pavlovich has never even been in the second round of a UFC fight. And not only with his style, but all that muscle mass, would he gas out pretty quickly? I could see him gassing out pretty quickly, to be honest. The next one is, can Sergey actually grapple or wrestle? We've never seen Sergey in any grappling exchanges in his UFC, apart from in his UFC debut. But he got absolutely dominated against Alistair Overeem. Now, I will say, that fight was a long time ago. It was back in 2018. So, I would imagine Sergey has really improved since then. But we've never actually seen him offensively wrestle, offensively grapple, so it's very hard to know. As well, Sergey Pavlovich is really open to leg kicks. The reason I say this is he's got a very pure boxing style, which means he's placing a lot of weight on that front leg, and that makes him very susceptible to getting that leg chopped. Think back to when Conor McGregor fought Dustin Poirier in their second fight. Conor had a pretty standard traditional orthodox boxing style in that fight, as opposed to his more fluid karate style, and Dustin chopped that leg up until he couldn't stand anymore. But anyway, to the conclusion. Who do I think will win and become the new interim heavyweight champion? To be honest, I see both these fighters as really good, and I can see it either going of one way. And that is, when we look at Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou, their first fight, where Stipe dominated Francis because of just his ability to mix up the styles that he can fight with in martial arts. His wrestling, his grappling, his striking. That fight, Stipe dominated. But in their second fight, in their rematch, all it took from Ngannou was one clean shot. And when he hit that clean shot, He followed it up and Stipe was out cold. So I feel like their styles are almost pretty much similar, like especially Francis and his style. It's very similar to Sergey Pavlovich. And Stipe is a very well-rounded heavyweight as well, kind of similar to Aspinall, but Aspinall's skill level I think is much higher than Stipe's. Maybe Stipe in his prime was more similar to Tom Aspinall, but it's very hard to predict this fight because of this. I feel like Tom will stay on his back foot, dance around, threaten with the takedowns and the submissions, and I feel like if he does this and does it really effectively, he wins. But with 2 weeks' notice, will he really have enough time to prepare for Sergey Pavlovich? And if Sergey Pavlovich is able to hit Tom with a clean shot, Sergey will finish him. But the real question there is, can he actually hit Tom? The reason I say this is because of how elusive Tom is. He's in the pocket, out of the pocket with his striking. I definitely can't see Tom standing in the pocket trying to exchange with Sergey the whole fight. No way. But with Tom's elusive style, in and out of the pocket so quick, feinting, throwing takedown feints, and then taking him down and threatening with that submission, I can really see Tom winning this. It's just that one punch power that Sergey Pavlovich possesses. And to be honest, I don't know who's going to win this. I think it can go either way for those reasons. Either Tom's going to outskill him, or Sergey's going to put him out cold in one. I don't know who's going to win this fight, but whatever happens, I would like to see the winner of this fight the winner of Stipe and John Jones. Because Dana White has said that even though John had to pull out, that he still wants to book Stipe and John Jones. And with both of them being much older, I really hope that the winner of that fight and the loser, I hope they don't retire before these belts are unified with the interim belt and the heavyweight belt. I would love to see the winner of Stipe and John Jones fight the winner of Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich. But guys, we'll see what happens, and as well, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.